We opened it on a shoestring budget, and we didn't have the shoestring. It started really with a dream of having a little barbecue joint on the side of the highway, and we started cooking.
He will come up with a wild, crazy idea. Some we have to shut down, but a lot of them, just like the shed, are little pieces of gold. And now I have to figure out how to take a pen and a piece of paper and make it work. I feel like our relationship and our business relationship would not be as strong as it is if we were both left brain or both right brain, because there would be no yin and yang.
You know, hard work pays off, and that's what we're going to continue to do. We're going to keep the barbecue hot, and we're going to keep the Pepsis cold. You mentioned the sky's the limit. You know, they're sending people to space now. I'm going to stay right here on the earth and make sure people getting fed at the shed.
On this first episode of the Bottled Up podcast, I will be talking to the brother and sister and bona fide barbecue world championship team of Brad Orrison and Brooke Lewis from the famous The Shed Barbecue and Blues joint, located right off I-10 on the Mississippi coast in the city of Ocean Springs. The Shed has been called one of the hippest dives in America by Food Network's Guy Fieri of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. This place is legendary, and since 2001, a magnet for barbecue and music lovers called Shedheads come from all over the country. Today, you will hear Brooke and Brad share their story of how the Shed began, how they are sharing the delicious barbecue with the world, winning barbecue awards and rave reviews from the harshest barbecue snobs, why Brad is obsessed with his found art and his Shed junkyard, and the secret ingredient and recipe for how the brother and sister team and Shed family makes the Shed Barbecue and Blues joint a must-see live music and culinary destination. We knew that for the first episode of Bottled Up, we needed some talkative and dynamic guests to kick off the podcast. And trust me, Brad and Brooke do not disappoint. So sit back, grab your favorite beverage, preferably a Pepsi product or a mixer, and turn up the volume. And let's get to know why Brooke Lewis and Brad Orrison of the Shed Barbecue and Blues joint are just as unique and unforgettable as their beloved barbecue joint. Welcome to the Bottled Up podcast presented by Allen Beverages, your local Pepsi provider on the Mississippi Gulf Coast since 1947. I'm the president of Allen Beverages and your humble host, Andrew Allen. On Bottled Up, I'll be talking to some amazing people from some of my favorite places on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. We'll dive into these incredible places to see what makes them so popular and heck, some even legendary. So let's hear where the beverage business meets local business. Brooke Lewis, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I can't wait to tell some stories.
And Brad Orrison, thanks for being with us, man.
Hey, I'm excited.
I really appreciate y'all taking the time to kind of have a conversation about your industry. And the first question I have is, when did the Shed start? And tell me the story of how the Shed became the Shed. Brad, you want to answer? Brooke, you want to answer?
I'm not scared to answer that question. We opened it on a shoestring budget, and we didn't have the shoestring. So 20 years ago, it started really with a dream of having a little barbecue joint on the side of the highway, and we started cooking, and we started compiling different types of we call it art, but a lot of people call it junk. And if you've ever been to the Shed, is, you know, a ramshackle barbecue joint with lots of antiques and oddities for people to look at.
Oh, yeah.
And we really started as fourth generation entrepreneurs. Brooke was 19. I was 23. And we had hard work ingrained in our souls through our family's upbringing in campground business, and my mom being a professional clown. Somehow it all encapsulated into us starting a 300 square foot barbecue joint that we called the Shed 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness, 20 years.
Yeah, y'all have an anniversary this year. This is the 20th anniversary, right?
We do. And don't let Brad fail to tell you that he is a dumpster diver extraordinaire. I like to call him a hoarder of large things, not knickknacks, but large things. So, you know, the Shed's on 20 acres, and we have a beautiful 500-foot pier right there on Fort Bayou. So you can come by train, plane, boat, you know, however you want to get there. We've had people skydive in before, but that junkadelic, as Guy Fieri from Food Network once quoted the Shed, we're very junkadelic. And that concept really started with Brad's love for finding antiques and finding one man's trash is another man's treasure, dumpster divers. sure. And that's what, well, I feel like that's what people love about the shed is because we are now a host of people's treasures. We have, it just depends on the day. We'll show up at the shed and somebody will have put an old piano outside and nothing is for sale. We're just hosting people's treasures. And so really the shed over the last 20 years has become built by the community and the shed heads across the nation. So we're really proud to be able to have so many pieces of material that are people's stories that the shed's built out of.
The restaurant, it seems as if it's like the restaurant itself is like an organism. It's like a living thing that grows. As you said, it's not all done by one person. I know that you said that Brad started it, but I mean, it seems that it grows by the community. Also, it makes it one of a kind. There's no other place like it. When you go there, it's unlike any other place you've ever been. Who initially started the recipes? Because I mean, the way that you guys do barbecue is kind of a particular way. I mean, who was the first person that had all the recipes, had all of the know-how on how to cook the food?
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that out also. Our menu is compiled of, my Mamma Mia's macaroni salad, which is one of my favorites. And that's my grandmother's baked beans that she brought to Christmas and Thanksgiving and really every family get together we ever had. My G-Ma, we affectionately call her, she always brought her baked beans, and we were raised in a foodie family. My dad's coleslaw is on the menu. We had a friend named Papa Jack that developed and passed over his barbecue sauce recipe. And as far as the cooking technique, there was a lot of barbecue that never made it to a plate because we had to figure it out.
Right.
It's a labor of love from our seasoning process. And, we start with dark brown sugar and spices that are common. And I say they're simple, but once you go through that low and slow cooking process and using the pecan wood, it really has created our whole vibe.
Right.
It's a barbecue and blues joint, and people expect the barbecue to be hot and the drink to be ice cold.
I think one of the craziest things the way you just described how all the recipes basically came from trial and error, and they're just old school family recipes that have been tweaked and perfected over the years. That has won national acclaim. How many barbecue championships and cook-offs have you guys won?
Everybody says, man, you guys have won everything out there. And I say, well, just remember, we don't tell y'all when we lose.
That is a fact. We have lost quite a few as well, Andrew, but we are proud to say that our team at the shed, we have a wonderful, we feel very blessed and humbled to have such a wonderful team of crew members at the shed that not only travel on our competition team, but also enable us to travel. So, and they hold the fort down. We're proud to say we have won the World Grand Championship twice. That's cool. The Memphis MA, which is one of the largest barbecue competitions in the country. And right. Our sauces, rubs, we've had many awards with those. And it's really just about the teamwork and about getting out there and really living outside of the four walls of the restaurant as far as marketing and spreading that barbecue gospel.
Yeah, that is very true. It's one of the things that from a business standpoint, you aren't able to do what you do unless you're comfortable leaving the business in someone else's hands, because the restaurant is the heart, right? That's the whole thing. So that's great. And y'all do have a really good team. I've been able to meet and spend some time with some of the guys. Scotty, I've been able to meet some of y'all's team, and y'all do some amazing things over there as far as even construction projects. I know that whenever we were installing you guys a few years back, y'all were looking to put in a saloon bar. And Brad, I think you said that we're going to have this done by Friday. And it was Monday. And I was like, man, I don't know how this is going to go down. I don't know how this is even going to work. And then by Thursday, we went over there and there was a bar there that I don't even know how it got there. And then we go, all we got to do is put in the windows now. And then I came back Friday, the windows were in. You were like, all right, y'all are ready to go. And I was like, man, I don't even know how y'all do this stuff. So it's really impressive to have people who stick by you and who are basically they're extended family members. They're not employees. They're not coworkers. You're at birthdays, it's family. And that's kind of how we operate over here too, is, I have people who have worked for us for 35, 40 years. It kind of gives you a sense of pride that you must be doing something right for somebody to stick with you that long.
Absolutely. And Andrew, we've seen that with you guys. I'm glad you said that you feel the same way about your company and your family, because I feel like that's why Allen Beverages and the Shed, Pepsi, we have, really formed such a beautiful bond, both friendship and professionally, because you guys have that same culture and support system within your company and culture that you've created. You've served with intent and purpose that we have with our Shed Crew family and our culture and intent and purpose. And I feel like that's why we have just meshed so well together, and you guys just support us, day in and day out. We have emergency things and last minute catering events that come up, and we can call on you guys, and you guys always come through for us. And I thank you for that. You have an amazing team.
Thank you, Brooke. I really appreciate that. Well, the number one thing, and my granddad always instilled this into my dad and my dad into me, is that the number one thing that you have to provide is not product, right? They can get product anywhere. It's customer service. If they have the product and their unit is down, what's the point? I remember hearing stories from my dad and my aunt that on Sundays, my granddad would load up, those premix tanks that they used to have that were in the little tanks, and they would have the tube that would go down, and it wasn't post mix, it was premix. He would load like 4 or 5 of them up on the way to church, and he would go by and drop them off as hot shots to customers just to get them through the weekend. It's all about giving the right amount of service, and service is what makes a difference. So I appreciate the compliments. And yeah, I do agree that our cultures and the way that we kind of go at employees and the mindsets they do mesh very well. If y'all don't have barbecue, your customers aren't going to get what they need. And if y'all don't have service, then y'all aren't going to be able to pour into my products. So I think you're right there.
That's why when Allen Beverages, when y'all approached us and said, hey guys, we want to come in and we want to bring our products in, we got with our crew and we said, all right, what do y'all think? And it's like, well, what are you planning? I said, well, I'm planning on ripping that fountain machine out and putting in a different one, these coolers over here, and we're going to fill it up with Pepsi products. And they're like, so we're going like all in? I said, yeah, we're going all in. Everybody agreed and said, yeah, we agree. Let's do it. And y'all's crew came in and did some amazing work. Literally, I felt like it was overnight. We were pouring ice cold Pepsi that next morning. It's been refreshing, to say the least. And I can only imagine how many millions of pounds of barbecue and how many millions of ice cold Pepsi products that we've served today and are going to continue to serve in the future. Sky's the limit.
Absolutely, man. And y'all's restaurant is renowned regionally and nationally. It's kind of a crown jewel when it comes to people who are road tripping, people who are in the area. They're like, hey, we got to stop there. I've heard about this. I've seen this. And I think that's only going to grow as the years go on. And once again, we always appreciate the partnership and the business. So I think the sky's the limit. Let's just see how big we can make this thing. Y'all's 20th anniversary happened. And did y'all think that it would be going on for 20 years?
That's a good question.
It feels like 50 years. We dealt with Hurricane Katrina. We had the whole place burned down. We've been through pandemic, and we have the same things on the menu, and we have the same work ethic 20 years later. I've got friends, they went in the military. They're already retired 20 years later, and, they have to get another job after that. And I wake up every day, and some days I think, all right, well, let's go see what we can get into. Still an adventure for me. And now I have bigger trucks so I can collect bigger things. So don't be surprised if you put something out there on the side of the road. Don't be surprised if you look at old long hair Brad out there digging through the garbage, getting something unique.
Brad, is there something that you've is like your crown jewel of something that you particularly want to find that you haven't found yet? Is there something that kind of like your white whale item that you want to find that you haven't found yet?
Yeah, I've got a few things. Over the last 20 years, I have gotten to knock a lot of things off the list. I've always wanted a scoreboard, and here last year, guess what? Got me a Pepsi scoreboard at the shed.
Yeah, you found one.
And so that's a bucket list item. But one thing that I've always dreamed of having, and this may sound a little crazy, but you know how you go into a dry cleaners and they have all the clothes that are hanging from the numbers, and they hit the button and it goes around until yours come up?
Yes.
I would love to have one of those that went into the kitchen and out to everybody else, to where we could hang the to-go orders on those and make them whirly-bird around the kitchen and out to everybody. And so we can hang some racks of ribs from them instead of racks of clothes. I've been looking over a decade. That is the elephant in the room for me.
That's very post-pandemic thinking. Zero touches. You just look for your number attached to the bag and you push the button, and then no one's touching it. So
I didn't even think about that, but okay. Now I'm excited.
Right. Hey, Brooke, quick question.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you guys have done this year or are doing this year for the 20th anniversary? Is there like a celebration happening or anything like that?
August was our 20th, and we really wanted to have your normal huge celebration of life of the shed, and have everybody out and have multiple bands and everything that we pictured. But the reason we haven't done that is because throughout this pandemic, our shed family and our immediate family, we've been as proactive to be protective of our guests, of our shed family, of everybody that surrounds us and surrounds the family, and extends out further across the nation, because this pandemic has been so scary.
Right.
So we decided, instead of having one big party where we gather the masses, to celebrate each and every day and try to do as much as we can throughout this year to kind of pay things forward and give back to the communities. We've always been really, really big in fundraising and supporting both local and national charities. So this year we're paying forward little trinkets at a time. And that's a way for us to really give back to the community that has supported us all these years, versus just having one big, massive party. And so we're doing it in smaller increments and spreading that out throughout the year.
A lot of people have been having to come up with that hard decision on whether or not you want to kind of throw safety to the wayside. And I think that the decision that y'all made was probably the best for everybody. If there's ever a chance for y'all that do have a big blowout, and we eventually get to the place where the pandemic's behind us and we're in a situation where we can do that, I'd like to be a part of it. Let me know what it is that y'all want to do, and we'll make sure that we execute our end.
Hey, you can't have a party without a Pepsi.
That's right. That's right, man.
That's right. We would love to have you guys be a part of it. And one thing we are starting this month, coming up in November, we are starting our music again, because we didn't have live music through the latter part of 2019 and 2020 because of just trying to be as protective and proactive as we could be to protect everybody. But we are starting live music again. All of our music is outdoors. Again, the shed's on 20 acres, so you can come out with the family and feel comfortable and not feel like you're in a tight, enclosed space, and actually be able to enjoy the music. We have a big sand pit with lots of toys. The kiddos can play and run around and dance, and the parents can get a cold beverage and watch the band in a wide open space. So we're so excited to start music again, because, the foundation of the shed was built on the food, the barbecue, of course, the community, but the blues as well. So not having music for the past year, it took a chunk out of us spiritually, but we kept our spirits high, and now we're super excited to bring that music back. So people can go to the Shed website, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, all those fun outlets, and check out the bands that are coming. So that is one thing we're really looking forward to. But again, we've got a wide open space, and the breeze is always blowing because we're right there on Fort Bayou, so people can come out and feel comfortable watching music and not feeling like they're in a tight place.
Absolutely. That is kind of like the soul of what you guys do as far as the restaurant's concerned, because I remember you would always have bands every weekend. You're having another band. So And I think it'll revitalize, the feeling inside the restaurant that, where you're kind of like you're back. I'm glad to hear that. Brooke, I know that you've traveled all over the country, and the way that you guys travel is, you all have a lot of equipment that you ride with. You have a lot of trailers that you have. Do you drive to every event? I imagine you have to.
Yes and no. The majority of the events we do drive. At least the trailers are driven there. The smokers are driven there. Sometimes some of the team has to fly in, and we, because of scheduling, have to stagger a little bit. So we do fly, we do drive. We've done events all over the country, whether it's a barbecue competition or supporting the National Barbecue and Grilling Association. We've taught classes, all over the country. So that's the fun part. We love being at the restaurant, at the joint, I call it. We don't call ourselves a restaurant because we are a barbecue joint, but we love being at the joint every day. Yeah, we also love traveling and being able to really reach out and just try to inspire people and try to teach as well as learn. When we're out and about, it's about what we can absorb as well to bring back to the shed, to try to make the shed and, what we do day in and day out better. So sometimes we fly, sometimes we drive, depends on where we're going. It all goes back to such a wonderful team. We've got Buggy, which we call the facilitator, who really logistically makes sure that everything gets to where it needs to go and gets set up. And we've got Scotty and Cheryl and Amanda and Andy and Hobson. I could go on for days. Amy. Nobody says it's not my job at the shed, because it takes a team to be able to be in 3 and 4 places at one time.
Right.
We've done things from travel to feed 5 people to over 12,000 on Randall Island in New York for former Mayor Bloomberg's employee appreciation party.
Wow.
You talk about a bunch of Mississippians showing up to downtown New York with big trucks, trailers, and smokers, and it was exciting.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that was an interesting experience.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it was. That was a good check mark on our book of really cool things. And we teamed up with other barbecue restaurants across the nation to do that. And we have always believed that it's just strength in numbers. We don't see other barbecue restaurants as competitors. We see them as somebody we can learn from, somebody we can team up with. Hey, let's talk about rib prices. Let's talk about this. What product are you using? So we've been very, very active and interactive with the whole barbecue community across the country for 20 years. Because of that has really increased our travels.
Andrew, I got a strange story.
I'd love to hear it, Brad.
Of course you do.
Brooke said, well, some of us fly and some of us drive. Well, I'm part of the driving crew. Brooke is part of the flying crew. So let's make sure we get that straight.
Oh, goodness.
And on the last trip home, we did the American Royal, which is a huge barbecue competition in Kansas City. And we drove up there, and we always have, you're riding in the car. It's a road trip. So everybody's excited to get wherever we're going. And we drove up there, and everything went perfect. Brooke got in, a day later. We set up, we competed. We almost broke the internet with a replica of the racetrack because the competition is held at the Kansas City Speedway. And on the way home is where the story got interesting. So Brooke got to fly home, and I'm sure being in the airplane is kind of different now that we're dealing with the pandemic. But on the way home, not only did we have one flat tire on the trailer, we had 2 flat tires at the same time.
Oh, my God.
We're rolling through Missouri somewhere, and just before a huge bridge, we lost what we thought was one tire. And we dragged the trailer all the way across the bridge, pulled off of the interstate, and guess what? There was 0 tires on one side of the trailer. And we spent, 2 or 3 hours fixing it, got it fixed. We got home. I think Brooke was delayed in the airport a bunch. So we did get home a day later. But whether you're on a plane or in the vehicle, Brooke and I always wear a shed shirt. We support, we call ourselves shameless self-promoters.
I don't blame you.
Our brand. But the strange story is I went on a surfing trip years ago to Okinawa. And I, of course, had my shed shirt on. We were standing there waiting to go into this little restaurant. And this guy feverishly runs up to me and he says, Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Have you been to the shed? Because I have my shed shirt on. I said, yeah, I've been to the shed. I go there all the time. He said, I was stationed at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, and the shed is my favorite barbecue joint. And he said, do you know Brad? And I said, I am Brad. And we're in Okinawa, Japan. So there's no telling, where just a hot bite of barbecue and a cold Pepsi, where that's going to lead. But that's by far my strangest traveling story is, he loved the shed and he said, have you ever met Brad?
Did he know you as a person? Did he recognize you? Obviously, he didn't recognize you.
No, that was the same time that we had our Food Network series called The Shed. And
I remember that.
He had been to the shed. He had seen it on TV, and he was so excited to see that shed shirt there in Okinawa. And no, we had never met, but food and good drinks is the common denominator globally.
It is. Beverages and food are things that people, they don't realize how much of an importance and their preference is until someone asks them. And then once they ask them, they're like, wow, I have a really strong opinion about this topic, especially in Mississippi and in the South. That's where we take comfort. And I think that a lot of what's been happening out in the world is people have, especially, anywhere that is suffering bad under the pandemic, that they're looking for comfort anywhere they can get it. And I think that they look for good food like barbecue, like y'all's food, and they look for drinks to kind of set their mind back to normal, at least for a little while. So, and I think that's what y'all provide people is an extraordinary experience when eating at the shed, but also extra quality food that makes people forget what's going on and they can kind of just enjoy themselves.
Yes.
I have one more question before we kind of wrap up a little bit. Siblings working together. Family dynamics are very interesting in themselves. I myself also work with my sister and I work with my cousin. How do y'all feel about working together? And also, are there any dynamics that go back, and this is myself talking from personal experience. There are disagreements that happen where you revert back to, you're both 13 and 14 years old again. And you kind of have to take a step back and be like, all right, listen, we're not going to act like kids and that kind of thing. And I've had those same conversations with my sister. The bad part about my situation is that I have to manage her. It's a situation of where I am her boss and she's my older sister. I guess the long and the short of it is, how do you guys feel about working together? Are there certain things that you enjoy and there's certain things that you don't enjoy?
Oh, I'll take this one, Brad. You just sit back and relax, brother.
All right. I'll just sit here and relax because I'm sure
just sit back and relax.
Completely different, and I cannot wait to hear this answer of what it's like working with siblings. All right, bro, take it away.
No, we're honest to a fault, but I won't be too hard on you. No, Andrew, it is. Siblings in business is a dynamic that is one of a kind for sure. And funny because when Brad and I first opened, we bought 2 acres of property from our parents who owned the KOA campground next to us. We moved here in 1986. They bought the campground. So when we first opened, Brad and I, and it's funny, you said, you feel like sometimes because you're siblings, even though you're grown adults and you're working in a career together, you kind of sometimes revert back looking at each other like you're 13 again and somebody took something out of somebody's bedroom. A couple of times when we first opened, we would get in these knock-down, drag-out brother and sister arguments, and we would walk across the street from the shed. Now, this is when the shed was 330 square feet. We had 6 seats in the whole place, and we're the only 2 employees. We would walk across the street to the campground where my parents were working, and we'd bust up in the campground and say, Brad did this, and Brooke did this, and it was argument about the shed, And our parents would say, you know what? Y'all need to hug it out.
Yep.
And, of course, we would look at each other like, So when we mentally reverted back to 13 and started pointing fingers, they brought us back to 13 years old when they would make us hug it out when we all lived in the same house. And because of that, over the years, because of that one little thing of hug it out, get over it, hug it out, come to a resolution. You don't have to agree on it, but it's the only way you guys are going to move forward in this perpetual motion that you need to move forward in to be successful at this business that you chose to create together. So we have kind of always had that hug it out approach. Now, that's not to say that we don't have some heated debate, because in business, you're always going to have different opinions and you feel like your opinion is the best for the business, but that doesn't mean it is. So we've had a lot of those hug it out moments in the last 20 years. I will give you that. But what is also great about, I think, Brad and I's dynamic or characteristics is that he is the artistic, very positive driven, it'll all work out person with the envision. He's the envisionary. He's the creator. He's the founder of the concept. And so he's far right brain in that. I'm far left brain, analytical. How do we take your crazy ideas, brother, put them on paper and try to make money with them?
Yep.
And always playing the devil's advocate. And so that helps us, I feel, a lot, because he will come up with a wild, crazy idea. Some we have to shut down, but a lot of them, just like the shed, are little pieces of gold. And now I have to figure out how to take a pen and a piece of paper and make it work. I feel like our relationship and our business relationship would not be as strong as it is if we were both left brain or both right brain, because there would be no yin and yang.
You gotta have balance.
Exactly. And Brad, I'll let you give Andrew and all the amazing listeners out there the rundown of our family with the shed when it comes to Brett, the music, and mom and dad.
All right. How our family dynamic, and like we mentioned, fourth generation entrepreneurs, the way that it works is there's 5 of us, and I came up with the idea. My mom tells everybody about it. My little brother books all the entertainment. Brooke makes sure we make money. And my dad makes sure that nobody does anything stupid. So we have always had a family dynamic of, hey, look, nobody wants to say you're wrong because nobody wants confrontation. But if you're wrong, it's just a whole lot easier to say, all right, I'm good with it, and move on and keep that synergy rolling. And of course, my mom and dad have retired from their businesses, and now they enjoy sitting on the couch and doing nothing a lot more. But I still call my mom, ask her things, and tell her crazy ideas. And our brother Brett, who is the cool child of the family, he's in Austin, Texas. He has a recording studio now. Hard work pays off, and that's what we're going to continue to do. We're going to keep the barbecue hot, and we're going to keep the Pepsis cold, and we're just going to see. You mentioned the sky's the limit. They're sending people to space now. I'm going to stay right here on the earth and make sure people keep getting fed at the shed.
Absolutely, man. Well, I think family is the X factor. You're going to have disagreements when it comes to it, but you can't get rid of family, right? I'm still going to have to see you at Thanksgiving. I'm still going to have to see you on holidays and birthdays, and we're still going to see each other. And it's kind of a blessing to be able to work with family, because there's a lot of people who don't get to see their siblings as often as you two do. And to have the relationship and kind of gel the way that you guys do with the creativity and the analytical side, and turning an idea for something into something very successful and nationally known. So I think that y'all should commend each other, and the fact that sometimes you have bad times where you have to lean on each other a little bit. And I think that that's important to have, is somebody who 100% understands how you feel as far as the business is concerned. That's a very special thing to have. And it's kind of a sacred thing to have. Is y'all both have been through everything the last 20 years. You've seen all the stuff together. You've told all the stories. You've had the laughs and the good moments and bad moments. So that's something you can't really take away. And I think that's great. Where can everybody out in the world find you guys online on social media? I know that you guys have quite a following on all of your platforms. So where can everybody find you guys?
Yeah. So all of our social media handles are the same. It's at The Shed BBQ. And we are on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Of course, we have theshedbbq.com. We ship barbecue across the nation 7 days a week. and our merchandise. A lot of shed heads like to get on there and order a couple racks of ribs and a cool t-shirt. We've always got new t-shirts and fun things out. And then we really just try to show everybody a little peek into the daily life of the shed crew and the shed and barbecue and blues and just good family times. I mean, the shed, we are a family food drinkery. So definitely check us out on all social media platforms and share those with your friends, because it's really the community and the shed heads across country that make the shed what it is.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate y'all spending a little bit of time with us. As always, if you need anything, you have my number. And the only time I won't answer is if I'm sleeping. So, and when I get up, you'll be the first call I make. So thank y'all so much for getting on. Brooke, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrew, for having us. I mean, I really appreciate the stories and the talk, and give all your crew members a high five from us until we see them next time.
Absolutely. And thanks, Brad Orrison. I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks for listening to the Bottled Up Podcast. While this is our first show, we will be adding new places for you to find Bottled Up every week. Right now, we are only found on SoundCloud, the Allen Beverages Facebook page, and our Allen Beverages YouTube channel. Plus, you can find the show on a Deep Fried network at deepfriedstudios.com. Want us to deliver this show into your email inbox as they drop? Want to tell us about how you like the show? Or you want to tell us about a Gulf Coast restaurant or bar you would like us to spotlight in upcoming episodes? Email Morgan at mwheeler, WHEELER, at abevinc.com. That's ABEVINC.com. Want to know more about Allen Beverages and how we work with our clients, partners, and vendors? Check out allenbeverages.com. This show was edited and produced by Johnny Gwynn and Deep Fried Studios.